A dead man's final gift is usually a memory, but my father gave me a mystery. The heavy rain fell quietly on the black umbrellas. We stood in the cold graveyard, saying our final goodbyes. My father was a famous tech billionaire. His sudden plane crash shocked the entire world. After the sad funeral, we went to the dark lawyer's office. I sat across the table from my Uncle Arthur. Arthur always had a greedy, hungry look in his eyes. He never helped build the family company, but he always wanted to control the massive wealth. The chief lawyer opened the official will. His name was Marcus. He was my handsome fiance. I loved Marcus deeply and trusted him with my life. He began to read the legal papers. His voice was smooth and professional, but his hands were shaking slightly. I leave all my company shares, my bank accounts, and the family mansion to my brother, Arthur, Marcus read out loud. I stopped breathing. The room started to spin. This was a terrible lie. My father hated Arthur. He always promised the company to me. I looked at Marcus, waiting for him to stop this bad joke. But Marcus did not look at me. He looked directly at Arthur and smiled a small, secret smile. In that cold moment, I realized the horrible truth. My fiancé had betrayed me to help my uncle. What about Isabella? Arthur asked with a fake, sad voice. Did my brother leave anything for his only daughter? Marcus nodded and handed me a small, dirty wooden box. Just this, Marcus said coldly. I opened the box with shaking hands. It was not money or a key. It was an old, rusty pocket watch. The glass was cracked and the metal was ugly. Arthur laughed loudly. A broken clock for a broken girl, he mocked me. I felt sick to my stomach. My entire future was stolen by the two men I trusted the most. The security guards immediately grabbed my arms. They pushed me out of the beautiful office building. I stood alone in the cold rain, holding the worthless box. I looked up through the glass doors at the large painting of my father on the wall. As I walked away from the building, I felt something strange. I looked down at the old pocket watch in my hand. The hands on the clock were moving, but they were not ticking forward. Every time I took a step away from my father's painting, the hands moved backward. The dark rain continued to fall heavily. I walked to a small cafe to escape the cold storm. I pulled out my gold credit card to buy a cup of hot tea. The cashier swiped the card, but the machine flashed red. My card was completely blocked. My mobile phone rang loudly. It was an old friend from the company. Isabella, you have to hide right now, he yelled nervously. Arthur told the police that you stole millions of dollars from the company before your father died. There is a warrant for your arrest. I dropped the phone in total shock. Arthur did not just steal my family empire. He framed me for a massive crime. I was a wanted criminal now. I could not go to a nice hotel. I could not ask my friends for help. I had to disappear immediately. I walked for hours until I reached the poorest part of the city. I found a dry, dark spot under a large highway bridge. The ground was hard concrete. Yesterday, I slept in a warm mansion. Tonight, I was a homeless girl sleeping in the dirt. The street was cold and dangerous. I hugged my knees to stay warm. Suddenly, a large shadow moved towards me. A rough, angry man walked out of the darkness. He held a small knife in his dirty hand. He looked at the shiny gold watch in my pocket. "Give me that watch, rich girl," the thug demanded with a cruel smile. I shook my head and held the watch tightly to my chest. It was the only piece of my father I had left. I refused to let this bad man steal my final memory. The thug laughed and grabbed my wrist aggressively. He tried to pull the old pocket watch from my fingers. The moment his dirty skin touched the metal, a loud, sharp noise echoed under the bridge. A bright blue light flashed from the rusty watch. A massive shock of electricity shot through the man's arm. He screamed in terrible pain and fell backward onto the hard concrete. He hit his head and went completely unconscious. I stood up, breathing heavily. I looked at the watch with wide, terrified eyes. This was not a normal clock at all. It was a highly advanced technological device. It had a hidden biometric defense system. It was designed to hurt anyone who did not share my family's exact DNA. My father had given me a powerful weapon disguised as garbage. Several difficult days passed. Living on the streets was a terrible nightmare. I was incredibly hungry, dirty, and exhausted. I walked through a dark, narrow alley, trying to find some fresh water. My hands were shaking badly from the freezing winter wind. I stumbled over a broken piece of concrete. I lost my balance and fell hard to the dirty ground. The old pocket watch slipped from my freezing fingers. It hit a large rock with a loud, sharp crack. The thick glass cover shattered into tiny pieces. I cried out in pain. My only connection to my father was destroyed. I slowly picked up the broken watch from the mud. But as I looked inside, I stopped crying. There were no small gears or springs inside the metal case. It was completely empty. Instead of clock parts, there was a smooth, black metal core. A tiny, bright red light was blinking inside the dark metal. I brought the broken watch closer to my face to see it better. The red light suddenly flashed directly into my right eye. It was a microscopic retina scanner. The device recognized my eye instantly. The watch made a soft, clicking sound. Suddenly, a bright blue laser shot out of the metal core. The light hit the empty air and formed a perfect, three-dimensional glowing keyboard right in front of me. I gasped in pure amazement. The magical screen asked for a secret password, but it did not ask for letters or names. The screen displayed a strange puzzle. It showed a series of numbers that looked exactly like GPS location coordinates. I did not know the password, but I knew how to read a map. I memorized the secret numbers and started walking. I followed the hidden directions through the busy city streets. The numbers led me away from the rich neighborhoods and deep into an abandoned industrial area. I finally stopped walking. The GPS coordinates led me to a dark, empty street corner. There was nothing there except an old, rusty public telephone booth. It looked like it had not been used in 20 long years. The door was broken, and the glass was dirty. I stepped inside the smelly phone booth. The blue laser screen on my watch began to blink very fast. It was telling me that I had found the exact right place. My father had left a hidden door for me, and I was finally ready to open it. The old phone booth smelled like wet dirt. I looked closely at the rusty telephone. There was a small, hidden metal port under the buttons. It perfectly matched the shape of my broken pocket watch. I pushed the watch firmly into the secret hole. The machine clicked loudly. The blue laser screen grew much larger, covering the dirty glass of the phone booth. The device connected to a highly secure, encrypted satellite network. Large, green letters appeared on the screen. It was a direct connection to a secret Swiss bank. Suddenly, the green numbers faded away. A video started playing on the bright screen. My father's kind face appeared. He looked very tired and serious. "Isabella, my sweet daughter," he said softly. "If you are watching this, it means I am gone, and Arthur has betrayed us." My father explained his dark secret. He knew Arthur was planning to steal the company. He knew Arthur was a dangerous, greedy man. "I created this secret account to protect you," my father said. "There is $500 million here in untraceable cryptocurrency." I covered my mouth in shock. I was a homeless girl sleeping on concrete, but I was actually holding $500 million in my pocket. "Do not use this money to hire lawyers," my father warned me strongly. "The legal system is broken. Arthur has bought all the judges." "You cannot fight him in the light," my father continued. "You must fight him from the dark shadows. Take this money. Contact a secret group called the Ghost Team. They are the only people who can help you destroy Arthur and take back your life." The video ended, and the screen returned to the Swiss bank account. The massive fortune was now completely under my control. I pulled the watch out of the port. The blue light disappeared, leaving me in the dark street. But I was no longer afraid of the dark. I looked down at my dirty clothes and my broken shoes. I wiped the mud from my face. Arthur thought he had crushed a weak little girl. He thought he had won the grand prize. But he had only created a very dangerous, rich, and angry enemy. The next morning, I used a small amount of the digital money. I bought clean, dark clothes and cut my long hair very short. I looked like a completely different person. I found a secure internet cafe and sent an encrypted message to the secret ghost team. That night, a silent black car stopped near the alley. I got inside without asking questions. They drove me to a hidden, underground bunker deep beneath the city. The room was full of bright computer screens and dangerous weapons. The ghost team was ready for war. The leader of the mercenary group stood in the shadows. He wore a dark mask over his face. "You have the money?" he asked in a rough voice. I nodded and transferred $1 million to his account. He slowly pulled the dark mask off his face. I gasped and stepped back. The leader was David, my father's old chief of security. "Arthur told everyone you killed yourself last year." I cried in shock. David smiled a cold, sad smile. "Arthur tried to murder me. I faked my suicide to protect my team." David was a loyal friend to my father. He hated Arthur just as much as I did. We immediately started working together to investigate my uncle's dirty business. David's expert hackers broke into Arthur's private emails and secret bank accounts. We found something incredibly terrible. Arthur did not just want to steal my family's money. He was doing something much worse. My family's company built highly advanced communication networks for the government. Arthur was secretly downloading massive amounts of classified national security data from our secure servers. "He is selling our country's secrets," David said, pointing at the computer screen. "He is selling the core data to a dangerous foreign criminal organization for $2 billion. Arthur was not just a greedy thief anymore. He was a terrible, dangerous traitor to his entire nation. I felt a cold, sharp anger in my heart. Arthur had ruined my life and destroyed my father's beautiful legacy. He was willing to put millions of innocent people in danger just to get richer. I looked at David with steady, confident eyes. We were going to destroy him completely. The ghost team worked quickly. David's best hackers easily broke into the security camera system of Arthur's giant mansion. We sat in the dark bunker, watching the live video feeds on the large screens. I saw Arthur walking proudly through the beautiful halls of my childhood home. I also saw Marcus, my traitor ex-fiance. He looked incredibly sick and pale. He was coughing heavily and shaking. I watched as Arthur secretly poured a few drops of clear liquid into Marcus's morning tea. Arthur was slowly poisoning his partner to keep the fake will a secret forever. Marcus had sold his soul to the devil, and now the devil was killing him. But we kept searching the video feeds. David found a strange, hidden camera feed. It was not on the main network. It showed a cold, dark basement deep under the beautiful mansion. The video was blurry and gray. A man was tied tightly to a metal chair in the center of the dark room. He wore dirty, torn clothes. His head was hanging down in exhaustion. David enhanced the video quality. The man slowly lifted his tired face toward the camera. I dropped my hot cup of coffee. The cup shattered on the floor, but I did not hear it. I stared at the screen, my heart beating so fast it hurt my chest. The man in the dark basement was my father. He was completely alive. The deadly plane crash was a massive, terrible lie. Arthur had kidnapped his own brother and faked the fiery accident. Arthur was keeping him locked in a cage like an animal. He was torturing my father every day, trying to force him to give up the final system master codes. Suddenly, everything made perfect sense. The broken pocket watch was not a dying gift. It was a desperate SOS signal. My father had secretly smuggled it out of the basement before the fake funeral. He knew it was the only way I could ever find him. My entire mission changed in a single second. I did not care about the stolen money anymore. I did not care about the company or the greedy revenge. My father was suffering in the dark, and I was coming to bring him back into the light. We could not call the local police for help. Arthur had bought the police chief with dirty money long ago. If we called them, Arthur would simply execute my father and hide the body. We had to handle this dangerous rescue mission by ourselves. We prepared for war. That night, Arthur hosted a massive, luxury party in the grand mansion to celebrate his new wealth. Rich politicians and famous people drank expensive wine upstairs. They did not know the dark horror hiding beneath their feet. The ghost team moved silently through the dark, rainy garden. We entered the house through a hidden kitchen door. I found Marcus standing alone near the stairs, coughing violently. I grabbed his arm and pulled him into the shadows. "Arthur is killing you with slow poison," I whispered coldly. Marcus looked at me with wide, terrified eyes. I showed him the video of Arthur poisoning his tea. Marcus began to cry in fear. "Help me," he begged weakly. I gave him a small pill. "This will stop the pain for tonight. You work for me now. Do exactly what I say, or you die tomorrow." Marcus nodded quickly. We left him upstairs and moved down to the dark, cold basement. David easily defeated the 2 armed guards at the door. I ran into the dark room and fell to my knees beside the metal chair. I hugged my tired, weak father tightly. "Isabella," he cried, tears washing the dirt from his face. But his smile faded quickly. He looked incredibly pale, and his breathing was very shallow. "He injected me this morning," my father gasped in pain. "It is a time bomb poison. I only have 1 hour left to live." My heart stopped. We had found him, but we were too late. "There is an antidote," my father whispered, holding my hand weakly. Arthur keeps it inside his personal wall safe. It is upstairs in the main executive boardroom. I looked at David. The boardroom was highly secured. The safe could only be opened by Arthur's exact, living fingerprint. We could not break it open with simple tools or explosives. I had to face the monster directly. I had to make Arthur open the safe for me. I needed a perfect disguise. I put on a sharp black suit, pulled my hair back tightly, and wore dark, expensive sunglasses. Marcus walked nervously into the grand boardroom upstairs. He told Arthur that the foreign criminal buyer had arrived early to buy the national security data. Arthur smiled greedily and walked into the quiet boardroom. He did not recognize me behind the dark glasses and the sharp suit. He thought I was a ruthless criminal ready to make him a billionaire. I sat perfectly still, holding my small black briefcase on the table. "I have the national data right here," Arthur said proudly, holding up a small silver hard drive. "It is ready for you. But first, I need the $2 billion transferred directly into my secure offshore account." He looked at me with greedy, hungry eyes. "I do not buy secrets blindly," I replied in a cold, fake accent. "Show me the data is real, and show me your secure network. I must know you're a professional." Arthur laughed arrogantly. He loved to show off his power and his expensive toys. "Watch this," Arthur boasted. He walked over to the highly secure wall safe. It was the exact safe holding my father's life-saving antidote. Arthur pressed his right thumb firmly against the glowing green glass scanner. The heavy steel door clicked and swung open smoothly. He did not know I had secretly modified my broken pocket watch. The moment his thumb hit the glass, a hidden device inside my briefcase instantly copied his digital fingerprint over the network. The ghost device did not just steal his identity, it launched a massive attack. The device injected a silent, deadly Trojan virus straight into Arthur's secure banking system. The virus used his stolen fingerprint to bypass all security walls. It was a digital weapon designed for pure destruction. The virus began draining his massive bank accounts at lightning speed. Arthur smiled at me, holding the open safe door. "See? Perfect security," he bragged. I smiled back behind my dark glasses. He had no idea that in exactly 10 seconds, his entire stolen empire would turn to dust, and he would have absolutely nothing left. Arthur proudly turned to look at his large computer screen. He wanted to watch my $2 billion enter his account. Instead, he saw a bright, flashing warning. The numbers on his screen were falling rapidly. Millions of dollars disappeared every single second. His jaw dropped in horror. "What is happening?" Arthur screamed wildly, pressing buttons on his keyboard. In exactly 10 seconds, his total balance reached 0. The screen locked completely. The massive wealth he had stolen from my father was gone forever. He slowly turned around and stared at me in the quiet room. He looked closely at my face. The fake accent and the dark glasses could not hide the truth anymore. He finally recognized the shape of my jaw and the cold anger in my eyes. "Isabella!" Arthur roared with absolute, terrifying fury. He realized the homeless girl had destroyed him. Arthur reached inside his expensive suit jacket. He pulled out a heavy, black gun and aimed it directly at my chest. His eyes were wide with crazy, violent panic. "I will kill you and take the money back," he yelled. He pulled the cold metal trigger without hesitation. A loud gunshot echoed through the grand boardroom. But I did not feel the pain. Marcus had suddenly jumped in front of me. He took the deadly bullet directly in his own chest. Marcus fell heavily to the floor, bleeding badly. It was his final, painful apology for his betrayal. Arthur stood in shock, holding the smoking gun. Suddenly, the loud sound of heavy helicopters shook the mansion windows. Bright red and blue lights flashed from the dark garden outside. I had not called the corrupt local police. I had called the Federal Bureau of Investigation. Before I came upstairs, my team sent the clear video evidence of Arthur selling classified national secrets directly to the FBI. The heavily armed SWAT team smashed through the beautiful glass doors downstairs. They rushed up the stairs with their big guns pointed directly at Arthur. Arthur dropped his gun and fell to his knees in total defeat. He was no longer a rich businessman stealing money from his family. He was an international trader who had tried to sell his country's secrets to dangerous criminals. There would be no bail and no mercy for him. The heavy FBI agents pushed Arthur to the floor and locked tight metal handcuffs on his wrists. They dragged the screaming, ruined trader out of the beautiful mansion. He would spend the rest of his miserable life inside a dark, cold prison cell. The nightmare was finally over. David and the ghost team ran into the boardroom. They quickly grabbed the life-saving antidote from the open wall safe. We rushed downstairs to the basement and injected the medicine into my father's weak arm. His breathing slowly returned to normal. We had saved him just in time. A few months later, my father was completely healthy again. He sat in our bright, warm garden, holding a cup of tea. He looked at me with deep pride in his eyes. He decided he was too tired to run the business. He officially gave me the entire company. I walked into the massive headquarters as the new, true chief executive officer. The employees clapped loudly as I entered the grand lobby. I did not wear an expensive designer dress or a heavy diamond necklace. I wore a simple, sharp black suit. Pinned proudly to my suit jacket was the old, broken pocket watch. The glass was still shattered, and the metal was ugly. But to me, it was the most beautiful thing in the world. It was a constant reminder of the cold, hard concrete bed where I learned to fight. I used the company's massive profits to start a new, secret project. I created a $1 billion anonymous charity fund. We provided safe homes, hot food, and new legal identities for homeless people who were abused by the cruel system. We gave them a second chance at life. I knew exactly how it felt to be invisible and hungry in the freezing rain. I knew what it was like to be thrown away like garbage by greedy, powerful men. I had survived the absolute bottom of the world, and it made me incredibly strong. I looked out the large glass window of my high office, watching the busy city below. Arthur was rotting in a tiny cage, and my family was finally safe. I was the master of my own time now. The homeless girl had returned to become the undisputed queen.